Good morning, Course 1. It's Mr. Belke back with another lesson for your enjoyment. Today we're going to be taking a look at Lesson 94, which is Writing Fractions and Decimals as Percents, Part 2. So, since Lesson 75, we've practiced changing a fraction or a decimal to a percent by writing an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. For example, if I have 3/5, right? 3/5 is the same as 60 hundredths, all right? And 60 hundredths is the same as 60% or 60%. Now, in this lesson, we're going to practice another method of changing a fraction to a percent. Since 100% is equal to 1, right? If you have 100% of something, you have one whole thing. We are going to simply multiply a fraction by 100% to form an equivalent number, because anything times 1 is that number. 5 times 1 is 5. A billion times 1 is a billion. 3/5 times 1 is 3/5. It's just going to look a little different. So, in this case, if I have 3/5 and I multiply it by 100%, 100% is the same as 100% over 1. I would have 3 times 100%, which is 300, over 5 times 1 is 5. So now I have 300 divided by 5. And 300 divided by 5. 5 goes into 30 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract, I get 0. Bring down the 0. 5 goes into 0. 0 times. Subtract, I get nothing, and nothing to bring down, so my answer is 60%, same as what we had here. Okay? Now, let's take a look. We'll look at example 1. It says change 1/3 to a percent. So I'm going to change 1/3 into a percent. And remember, we're going to do this by multiplying by 100%. 100% is the same as 100% over 1. 1 times 100% is 100%. Over 3 times 1 is 3. Now I have 100% divided by 3, which is 100 divided by 3. Okay? 3 goes into 10. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract, I get 1. Bring down the 0. 3 goes into 10. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract, I get 1. And I can put that 1 over the 3, and it is 33 1/3%. Now, another thing that we can look at is multiplying by 100% even if it's a decimal. So for instance, if I look at example 2, I have 1.2, and if I want to change that to a percent, I would multiply it by 100%. Okay? When I'm multiplying by 100, 100 has 2 zeros, so I'm going to move the decimal 2 places. So I would have 120%. Okay? Let's take a look at example 3. 2 1/4 as a percent. Now there's 2 ways to go about this. If I want to change 2 1/4 to a percent, I could break it out and say, well, 2 I know is 200%, and 1/4 is 25%. So 200% plus 25% would be 225%. Or the other way is to turn this number into an improper fraction and then multiply by 100%. So let's do that. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. So I have 9/4 times 100%. Okay? And 100%, same as 100 over 1. Now, is there anything I can reduce, top and bottom? Oh, sure. 4 goes in here once. 4 goes in here 25 times. 9 times 25 is 225. 1 times 1 is 1. So 225 over 1 is the same as 225%. Okay? Let's take a look at example 4. 2 and 1/6 is a percent. Let's do the same thing. 2 and 1/6 as a percent. Okay, so again, I'm going to change this to an improper fraction. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13/6. So I got 13/6, and I'm going to multiply that by 100%. All right, now, is there anything I can reduce top and bottom? Sure, I can reduce 2 goes in here 3 times and 2 goes in there 50 times. Or I can just simply multiply across and then divide. So if I don't know what 50 times 13 is, but I do know what 13 times 100 is, that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look at this. 13 times 100 is 1300. 6 times 1 is 6, so 1300 divided by 6. 6 goes into 13. 2 times, subtract, I get 1, bring down the 0. 6 goes into 10. 1 times 6 is 6, subtract, I get 4, bring down the 0. 6 goes into 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope, not quite 7, 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. And subtract, I get 4. Nothing else to bring down, so I put that 4 over the 6. So I got 216 and 4/6%. Can I reduce 4/6? Yes, I can. Divide by 2, divide by 2, so I have 216 and 2/3%. All right, at this point, I'd like you to pause the video and work on I and O. Letters I and O. So pause the video right now. All right, you've done I and O. Let's start with I. So I is 0.625, and we want to turn that into a percent. So we do the same thing as we did here. We multiply by 100%, times 100%. And when we're multiplying by 100, 2 zeros, so I'm moving the decimal 1, 2 places. Number's getting bigger, and it would be 62.5%. Simple as that. All right, now let's look at O. 1 and 1/3. 1 and 1/3, and we want to turn that into a percent. So again, we're going to turn this into an improper fraction. Multiply by the bottom, add the top, so 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So I have 4/3, and I'm multiplying that by 100%, which is the same as 100% over 1. 4 times 100 is 400. 3 times 1 is 3, so I have 400 divided by 3, which is 400 divided by 3. 3 goes into 4 once. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract, I get 1. Bring down the 0. 3 goes into 10. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract, I get 1. Bring down the 0. 3 goes into 10. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract, I get 1. Nothing to bring down, so that 1 goes over the 3. 33 and 1/3%. All right, that's it. If you have any questions, please call, text, or email me, or you can join me online from 9 to 10 tomorrow. Have a fantastic day.